Not hard. Alright, so, we've gone through SCOTUS, we've gone through the amendments, so now we're gonna go over something called constitutional scrutiny, and maybe you kids remember from the second amendment assignment. The leaders are open.
Scrutiny.
So maybe you read it in the 14th Amendment, or maybe you remember it. Now, there are 3 levels of this type of scrutiny. Now, first of all, what does scrutiny mean?
Is it bad?
Not bad.
Sounds bad.
So if something is under scrutiny,
Under review, right?
huh?
Under review.
Kind of, yeah. So it's under like investigation, or they're going to review it, or they're going to look at it closer. Well, not really. Like if someone supposedly, like let's say they plagiarized something, and it marks up some flags, then their exam or their test, whatever, will be under scrutiny, because it will be reviewed, it will be examined. So, these tests essentially are used to determine the constitutionality of a statute or an ordinance. So anything that is passed by the federal government, the state government, local, city, whatever. It has to pass this test, okay? So if it doesn't pass this test, it does not become law. So it has to be able to clear this. Now, there are certain ordinances that when you first read them, you're like, ooh, that's kind of weird. And why would they do that specifically? And most of the time, the state says that there is an actual interest behind them passing this particular law. So even if it's weird, or if it's like an action that you wouldn't necessarily think should be law, they have justified it with some particular reason. So there has to be a rational connection between the statutes or the ordinance's means and goals. So it can't just be some random law, but there has to be some sort of goal behind that law. Now, the example that was given to you kids in the assignment was that before before a couple can become parents, they have to pass a test. They have to go to therapy, they have to do all of these things before they become parents. That was a law that was passed in a specific state. Now, the Supreme Court said, yeah, that's, no. Like you can't have parents pass a test to be able to become parents, like you can't really do that, right? Because there really wasn't a legitimate state interest. Now, you might think, you know what, the states did have maybe a point, because some people really don't have, you know, the wherewithal to be parents. Maybe they're not responsible enough, whatever the case may be. However, you have the liberty to be a parent whenever you want, at a certain age, not right now, don't do it. At a certain age, you have the liberty to be a parent whenever you want, right? So the government cannot interfere with that. So it did not necessarily pass the scrutiny test, because you can't do that. So that's essentially what it does, right? When the law is coming under scrutiny, it's usually because it took away some rights of people, and they're trying to determine whether or not it passed.
Well, this what's a statute?
Statute is just another word for like a law, or like a order. Okay. First up is the rational basis test. So this one is really where it's in cases where no fundamental right or suspect classifications are at issue. Now, suspect classifications is a very, very important group And a very good way to remember this is if you suspect racism, they're in the suspect classification group. It's a good way to remember it. So it's usually people who have been discriminated against based off of their race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, anything like that. That would be suspect classification. It's usually race-based cases. So if you suspect discrimination, they fall under the suspect classification group. Okay? So write that somewhere in the notes because I do need you to remember this. Suspect classification will come up again, so please make sure that you remember this. It's not always racism, it's also like discrimination based off of gender and everything else, but usually, unfortunately, it has to do with race. So this one is also referred to as rational review. So in the exam that you will get, well, it's not an exam, it's a class, sorry. In the class that you will get, you will be having these, and I might put it as rational review or rational basis test. So make sure that you know both. So, as I said, suspect classifications are a class of individuals that have been historically subject to discrimination. So in the past, people have discriminated against them for whatever freaking reason. Race, religion, national origin, and alienage. Again, this is not an extensive list in any way, shape, or form. There are, unfortunately, so many ways that people can be discriminated against. And so if it has been kind of like a historical thing that has occurred, then they are under suspect classification. So again, good way to remember it. If you suspect discrimination, it's suspect classification. Now, this one is usually invoked by the Equal Protections Clause. What amendment? Very good, 14. Hopefully you wrote this in your quiz because this was one of the questions. So the Equal Protections Clause, what does it state in the amendment?
What?
What does it state in the amendment for this?
That everybody's protected equally under the law.
Very good, yes. All people in the United States are treated equally and have equal protections under the law. So it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter what race you are, who you love, whatever, you are always going to be treated the same under the law. That's exactly what it is. So this one is very general, okay? Very, very general. It could really be invoked by anything that disrupts your natural rights. Alright, kids, once you're done, start packing out. Should be like 5 minutes in. Oh, not here.